They want a thing.
Hit that button.
Recording live from the E. Haley Memorial Studios, straight out of Almont, Ontario, it's time for This Death Clock Has 60 Minutes, your one and only weekly Warmahordes news broadcast. It's 8 p.m. Wednesday night, the beers are cold, the news is fresh, and the death clock starts now.
Welcome, everybody, to This Death Clock Has 60 Minutes. We have a little bit of an interesting show for you guys tonight.
I'm sober.
You're what? Wait, what?
Shit has gone off the rails.
Yep.
Already?
Yep.
Well,
It's officially the darkest timeline.
Yeah, it is.
we looked around and we're like, you know, Will's gone. And we don't want to actually have a guest. That seems like a lot of work.
It does.
Or show notes. Show notes seem like a fuck ton of work.
Yep.
Who cares?
So we really should do something. We're just gonna shoot the shit and talk about Grimkin anyway. So here we are.
Spoilers.
So I am PG Semi-Automagic, and to my, I guess, far left, your right is as
Ringo.
always.
Ringo's still here. No, wait, Will's not here. I can be whoever I want.
You can pick. You can
I'm
have
Jason.
Your pick. You can be Jason.
I'm Jason.
Wow.
I'm a real boy.
Wow.
I hate the drums.
I can hate the drums.
I can say it.
So we have Maelstrom on the end there.
Yeah.
And next to us we have Mike.
Hi, everybody. I'm
Bilac.
Mike, or Bilac, as you probably know me from the Twitch chat that I tend to troll.
Yep.
Yeah, he comes in here, laughs at us, posts pictures of not Una 2, and then runs away.
Son of a bitch.
So,
Yeah, we're on the wrong sides because George didn't want to trust Jason with multiple buttons today.
there's a lot of buttons here.
So
it's really complex.
method to the madness.
Later on, I'm going to put up images of things.
Will's gone. I'm on the wrong side. Mike's in the middle.
Darkest
What
timeline.
the
It is
what?
definitely the darkest timeline. So, Mike, because you have been hiding in the chat and our listeners, the people who watch live have seen you gabbing away. But for our listeners, what factions do you play?
What day of the week is it?
I believe it is a Wednesday. So what do you play on Wednesdays?
Well, today I'm playing Circle,
Excellent.
but I have traditionally played a lot of Scorn. I currently own some Retribution, and
You're looking to get rid of?
I am. So if anyone's looking for a large Retribution lot, please feel free to look me up on Facebook. Like the outro says, if you can't find me, you're doing the internet wrong. Yeah, I've played pretty much everything except Signar and Mercenaries.
Really?
What do you
Yes.
got against Signar and Mercenaries?
Opportunities just never come up.
Okay.
So
okay.
I've
So
got a
when-
bunch of Signar in the basement.
So when Will scoops on gun bunnies, I'll be like, hey,
Yeah.
Will.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And I see you've got some Scorn in front of you and some, looks like some trolls.
Yeah, you got some models sitting
I
in front of you
do.
there.
I actually do. The troll is not mine, but the two Archidons are. Those are both mine.
Archidons. I hear they're fair and balanced.
They are super fair and balanced. We have also had requests from the chat for you. If you hate the drums so much, you should probably stop drumming.
I love the drums. God damn it.
God damn it, Jason. We leave you alone for 30 seconds.
That's all it takes.
All right. Well,
Ask my wife.
Oh,
and
and that's the
along.
cast.
On the news.
on to the news. So, there's obviously the big news is SmogCon, but before we get into some things that may have come up there, there's a couple other little things that we should go over. We saw the models for the Straka Warcaster unit.
We did.
Have they come out before? Like, have we gotten any other information, or is it just what we've seen recently?
Nothing I have seen. No, I think it's just this. I think there is just like the solicitation and the images.
Okay. So, as some people may or may not know, ahead of the model release, Privateer Press sends out to the stores basically a sell sheet, a fact sheet on a good way to, sell these particular models. And we've been able to get some little paragraphs out of that. So, we know that the Strakov and his Warcaster unit are coming out April 12th, because that's when they're telling us. And we have Strakov wearing the most interesting headgear I think I've seen in Khador. And this comes from a faction that has a lot of masks.
Yeah, he's got the like the neck or like the collar thing going on there.
Yeah, he's got this kind of like, like face in a box thing going
kind
on.
Kind of Final Fantasy-ish.
A little bit, yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
When I saw that, I had that like Dishonored retro futuristic thing, like vaguely steampunky idea, and he really looked like not an electrical knight, but that kind of that kind of, I've got a mechanical switchblade in my back pocket and I can fire grappling hooks or something weird like that.
He does look like he's gonna shiv a guy.
Yeah, he is.
Strakov, stick a bitch.
Yeah, that
is gonna definitely stick a bit. So let's give you what PP actually wants you to know about it. So Assault Commander Oleg Strakov has spent decades carving a bloody trail through the kingdoms of Western Imerin, eliminating high-profile targets and destabilizing opposing forces with well-orchestrated strikes. Strakov stands as a Khadoran legend. Those who tell of his deeds speak of him as more spectre than man, an unseen force capable of accomplishing impossible tasks under cover of night and leaving no evidence of his passage. So, yeah. It doesn't give us a lot to work with. It is a
little bit of fluffiness there.
A little bit of fluffiness.
Little flavor.
Just from the model, we are going to assume that it's him and a couple of Khadoran grunts with relatively big guns.
Yep.
Yeah, like kind of like grenade launchers.
Yeah, they have that feel to them. And he's got what looks to me like his standard slug gun, a standard hand cannon. So we don't really have a lot more information on that. We will bring you info as it comes up. The next thing at SmogCon we saw was the new information from SR 2017. So while a lot of other things were getting announced, we saw a couple of Privateer Press people playing a new scenario.
We did.
Yeah, we usually see a refresh every year of the Steamroller document, and for anybody who is just sort of playing at home with their friends, the Steamroller document is what we use for organized play. When we're doing a tournament at a store, something like that. A lot of us use it sort of as an everyday thing when we're playing War Machine. Because, it fixes a lot of problems. But from people watching that game, we got a lot of sort of secondhand information. And then later on, they came on to the forums to talk more about it. So...
to kind of put out some fires before they started.
I'm not
I think they were a little
sure.
late on that.
Yeah, I'm not
There
so
were some
sure
fires
about
blazing.
the-
There was
about the-
entire towns burning down on the forum.
I'm trying to be optimistic here, guys. Isn't this the podcast of positivity? Isn't
It
that
is.
us?
It is.
Isn't
We're
that
just-
us?
But
It is a podcast.
We
are
weren't the
positive.
ones starting the fires.
Yeah, that's true. So
We didn't start the fire. It's been always burning
Yeah.
since the world's been turning.
Oh.
excellent.
I understand
We're
that
gonna get
reference.
DMCA'd now.
Yeah.
So, Mike, we saw something different from scenario scoring.
We did.
Can you give us a quick overview of what's going on with the zones and objectives and stuff?
So essentially, what looks like PP is going to be doing with the scoring is they're going to be changing which models can actually get points off of flags and the different shaped zones. So traditionally, it was either dominate and control. Now, with circular zones, you can only score control points with infantry. With rectangular zones, it is jacks or beasts. And then flags are the purview of warcasters or warlocks.
Excellent. So now I've heard that warlocks can also score like basically every zone.
Everything.
So yeah, that's been a little bit in my opinion, anyways, there's been a little bit of confusion about that. But yeah, I have heard that. I have heard that the warlocks and warcasters can score everything. Yeah. I've also heard that they're going to be lifting limitations on how often they can score.
Oh, okay.
So there may be a scenario, like situations where there are flags in zones, and it's possible that a warcaster could score both off of the flag
or two zones close to each other.
Yeah. Or if you've got like a warlock unit like Saren and Rice, for example,
each can score.
It's possible that both may be able to score. So there's a little bit of information out like that. Again, it's a little bit. I mean, a lot of it's all secondhand.
Yeah.
And some clarifications that they can and can't clarify off of the forums yet. But that's generally speaking what we've seen so far.
Now, the one scenario that we saw being played at SmogCon had this kind of wrestling belt layout. So anybody familiar with the zones will know that there's basically two different sizes. You've got a rectangular zone that's 6x12, and you've got a 12-inch circle. And what we saw was a 12-inch circle in the middle and two 6x12s on either side in kind of what we're calling the wrestling belt configuration.
The championship belt, yeah.
The championship belt. And the interesting thing is if they keep it so that warlocks can score on both types of zones, it means that there are these two positions on the wrestling belt where you can score on two zones at once.
Yeah.
So possibility, I heard people throwing around being able to score 4 control points on a turn. So you kill an objective, score 2 zones, and then score the third zone with a jack or infantry.
Did the championship belt scenario have objectives?
I don't know.
I don't
okay, it was a hypothetical.
Like,
okay,
it's like
hypothetically, yes.
Okay,
there's a hypothetical
if there are
4 points.
Yeah. Now that begs the question: if you have a warcaster unit, can you get them towing into multiple zones to score even like 4 points a turn?
I'm not. I mean,
have one caster in 2 zones and the other caster in...
we're not sure yet.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably still too early for information like that. But the other thing that I'm scooping George on this one.
Yeah, go for it.
They have mentioned that they're changing how scenario victories happen as well.
Correct.
So it's no longer first to 5 or the first person to get one more than the other opponent. It's you must have 6 more points than your opponent.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
So it's possible that we may have situations like you described, Jason,
where higher scoring games.
Yeah, where if you have a warlock unit, you could potentially score 4 points in one turn, maybe to accommodate this different way of achieving victory.
Yep.
So,
and if you're achieving victory when you're getting would it be when you're 6 points ahead of the opponent, or is it 6 points in total? Because we've seen
ahead.
6 points ahead.
6 points ahead.
Yes.
So you would have to win, say, like 10-4.
Okay. So we're going to see much higher control point games than we've been previously.
Which is why maybe we're going to see a possibility of 4 or 5 points scored per turn.
Yeah. So that sounds like it's going to be pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Terrain is getting less guidelines, if anything. Apparently, they're only going to have really big 3 guidelines on how to place it. One of the things a lot of people were kind of worried about that they had heard through the grapevine is that we were going to have like set maps on that it would be, like this is scenario map A, this is scenario map B, and it always has these pieces in these locations.
Yeah.
And I think they would never do that because you can't be certain that all stores will have the same terrain. But I think one of the things that they are trying to do is loosen up the rules so you can have more terrain in more places.
See, what I heard, it's interesting because again, and
everybody's hearing different things.
Exactly, and again, there's a lot of conjecture going around right now, but it is still very early days, and again, we will get to see this in the CID, which we'll get into in a little bit. Yeah. But what I've heard is that they're actually putting in more guidelines for terrain, not less. Like
Excellent.
Each scenario or the Steamroller pack in general is going to have guidelines for where and like how you place terrain.
Okay.
So it's not going to be like a set template, but it's actually going to have more instructions.
So it'll say like you
must have 8 pieces of
piece of blocking terrain within 10 inches of the center of the board.
That
and
is
2 pieces that are
that might be a bit much.
But I mean, that is something like that is the impression that I've gotten. And again, early days, but
yeah, of course. Well, this is all rumor till we see the SID come in.
Yeah.
Now, of course, we've been saving the best for last.
The most controversial,
The most
which
controversial
the chat is now scooping us on.
Yeah.
this
Oh,
one.
of course. Well, that's the idea. That's what chat does.
Yeah. Way to go, chat.
So the idea. So this is what they're calling the mercy rule.
The mercy rule. It's ridiculous.
So Jason, what is mercy rule?
Possibly the most. No. Okay. So the mercy rule is apparently it's after 5 rounds, not turns.
5 turns would be ridiculous.
5 turns would be ridiculous. After 5 rounds, you are to roll a die, I believe, or you just roll a die. You just roll a die, and if you roll a 5 or a 6, the game ends, and whoever has the most control points at that time is the winner of the game. And then, if you roll under a 5, the game automatically ends at round 7, and whoever has the most control points wins the game.
Yeah, so it's like every round past the 5th you roll.
You roll,
Yeah,
and
so,
the game cannot go past round 7.
yeah.
So this is really interesting. Most tournament games, I would say, rarely go that long.
Right.
Most tournament games I have played have been, if not completely decided by round 3.
Yeah.
You got a pretty good idea of where things are going.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now, I have also assassinated the other guy with just my Warcaster on the table.
Yeah.
And some of those have happened, if not on
Round 5
7
or
or
6.
8 or 9. Like sometimes it just takes a while for you to get just that correct angle before you can pop off that just weird and wonderful shot and try for it and get it.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go around the table a little bit and see what people think. So Jason,
Yeah.
what do you think of this?
I think what Will said on the forum was that it's being put in place to stop the long game and that it will rarely ever come up anyway. So if it's rarely ever going to come up, then why bother?
100% agree.
I honestly do not see the point. And like you were saying, some games can still end on round 5, 6, or 7 with a low model count and no control points. And you can get that crazy assassination just from a caster, like you said. And if I was in a position where I could maybe assassinate on round 6 and the game ends because of rolling a 5 or a 6, then I'm going to be upset.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Mike, do you have anything to add to that mess?
Yeah, so again, it is super engaging. I'm not going to be taking the role of devil's advocate. One of the things that drew me to War Machine initially from some other tabletop games out there was that you have this really tight rule set and you don't have a lot of randomness going on. And now with this random game length rule and this hard, I mean, I have less of a problem with the hard stop, but the random game length rule, like you mentioned, Will Pagani on the forum said that it's to help shorten games and make it easier for tournament organizers. But Death Clock is also still going to be a thing. So if they want rounds to be shorter, why not implement a shorter
50-minute death clock?
50-minute, 45-minute death clock?
Yeah.
Boy.
But I know,
That would be dangerous.
but I mean,
45-minute death clock.
and again, they
You
all
have to change the name of the podcast.
yeah, but I mean, but again,
Poor
they
Crix players.
yeah, no one plays Crix.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Jason. But yeah, it's just like if it's a rule that's not going to come up very often, and they're looking to shorten the game, I believe there are better ways to do it. Also, it can lead to some kind of jankiness too. Like if you could, I mean, which I guess you could say janky or you could say interesting. It depends on your point of view. I view it more as janky.
Yeah.
But you could potentially build lists where it's like, okay, turn 5. Now the whole point of my list is to keep you out of zones.
Yep.
And that's all I'm going to do. I'm just going to do pushes.
Yep.
I'm going to use TKs. The Ret Colossal, I'm going to use that thing to shoot you 3 times to push you out of zones.
Yeah, if people can find a way to exploit a certain aspect of the game, they will.
And I mean, and maybe they want that, and if they do, that's fine. But maybe don't do that with the random turn lanes. Maybe do that. Maybe do that on the hard 7. Like, and hey, our friends over at Hard 7 would probably
they would love that.
They would
love
probably
that,
love that. But I mean, I don't know. I do not like the random turn length at all. And so George, what do you think of random turn lengths?
Well, I have a couple of theories here. One is, what if this is not for use with Death Clock. So there are different timing solutions already in the Steamroller pack. What if this is an alternate timing solution?
My counter to that would be, why not just say so?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Maybe like that could be. Maybe they're testing an alternate timing solution.
And I mean, and sure, and maybe, but I mean, like, Will Pagani has said that Death Clock is still in the packet, like it is still there. And I mean, if they wanted
still
to,
there, it's not gone. Technically, I'm not sure you guys have read the Steamroller packet recently.
who reads rules?
I do. Unfortunately, I have to as the guy who runs tournaments. Death Clock's actually a variant.
Yeah.
Even though I have yet to run a non-Death Clock tournament in 3 years, I think.
Yeah.
Something like that. But now, first of all, I could say, yeah, definitely it would be there. Other than that, I kind of got to go with you guys. Like, I mean, it really seems weird as an extra, like, it's not needed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
it's a rule that's really not needed, because if we're playing on Death Clock, you don't need it because game going to end on Death Clock. Like, that's going to happen.
Yes.
Or it's going to be decided before that.
yeah.
So I don't understand where that's coming from.
Yeah.
And
I mean, kind of like you were saying, though, like, I mean, if they introduced it, like, maybe if it was like an optional pack, like option in the Steamroller package,
Yeah.
or maybe in conjunction with time turns,
yeah,
like, rather than having a round timer, you have this. So I could see, like, that could maybe make for an interesting format. But I mean, again, the standard for me is going to be, and the way that I believe that War Machine's meant to be played is with Death Clock. So
now here's one of the wonderful things about this is coming up, we've got the community involved development, the CID. And one of the great things is that this will be the first Steamroller that is using CID.
it is.
So we are going to all have our grubby little mitts on it, and we'll all be able to say with apparently one voice, just take this out. Now, I am very interested to actually see the whole document. So this is going to be a problem, and it has always been a problem in War Machine. Last week when we were talking with the boys at Privateer Press, I asked them the question, is War Machine ever like at a plateau? Is it ever kind of done for today? And he said, no, it is never in a stable state.
Yeah.
So what that leads us to the problem of is we don't have all the info.
Yeah.
And this is another example of we're all kind of barking at the moon right now because we don't have that info.
Well, that's what we like to do.
Yeah, that's
As
that's what we do
War
for an
Machine
hour every
players.
Wednesday. Right?
Yeah.
As a
We
circle
love-
player, I find that statement offensive, George.
Awesome.
As a circle player on a Wednesday. Tomorrow we'll see if I appreciate that joke, but
So CID is coming up,
Yeah.
and one of the first things that we're actually going to see out of CID,
other than Steamroller.
other than Steamroller, is the new faction. So at SmogCon, we had a model release. We had maybe the weirdest model release
Yeah, it was
I've ever
strange.
seen.
I got to admit, it took me a while to clue into the joke,
Yeah, well,
like the actual reason
yeah.
why
so-
it looks like it did. Yeah, I just was
well,
like,
when
oh,
you see it in just metal, when we saw
Yeah.
it before it was
painted.
painted,
Yeah,
it was just a silver model
Yeah.
with a weirdest hair ever.
yeah. Is that a Marge Simpson variant? What's going on there?
Is this the Simpson variant? Yeah, so what we're talking about is the SmogCon Hollow Man exclusive.
Yeah.
So in this case, it is a Beefeater
Yeah.
Hollow Man. And so if we kind of make it to that position, we'll talk a little bit about the different units in the new faction. And one of those units is the Hollow Man.
Yeah.
And I think this might be the first time we've seen a themed miniature for a location in the real world.
Yeah, and I think
can't
that's why
think-
it took me a while to kind of.
I
Oh,
can't think
okay.
of another one.
Do the alcohol themed minis count?
I would say no because
Because
there is
they-
alcohol as a thing in the Iron Kingdom.
Right, but
And
they're all
everywhere.
but they're all paired with like that brewery or whatever. Right?
Yeah,
That
with the
restaurant?
Rand Brewery.
Okay, so that doesn't.
I
count.
would
All right.
say they don't count if they all were Seattle themed
Yes.
somehow.
Yeah.
Maybe-
Space Needle hat.
maybe they
Yeah.
like to drink in Seattle, George.
Space Needle.
Pabst Blue Ribbon cans. I don't know. Coffee, Starbucks. I okay.
It's
I've
probably
never
the
been
first
there.
model that has been location specific.
I can't think of
in its
another one.
design.
I can't think of another one to refute. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, probably.
Probably the first location specific one, and it. I think it's kind of neat, and I really hope. This is just as a purely from a collector's point of view. I would love them to do a bunch of them all Hollow Men.
Yeah.
So that you can have the whole unit of
The
Hollow
Beefeater
Men
Hollow
from
Men.
Beefeater Hollow
everywhere.
Men?
Oh,
no,
from
no.
everywhere, from
Oh,
different
from
countries.
locations. Okay,
Yeah, like,
you're
I would
right.
love
The
to
Viking
see-
Hollow Man.
Yeah,
the,
like,
right, right.
Yeah, I think that would
the
be
Dusseldorfian
really cool.
Hollow
Right.
Man. Yeah, that would be pretty amazing.
So I have a question for you guys.
Yeah,
We've known for a while now that there was going to be a new faction model at SmogCon.
Right.
Yeah.
And when it was revealed that the new model was in fact a single model of a 10-man unit,
Yes.
what did you think of that?
I didn't mind it because it was a special location-based one.
Okay.
If it was just an alt sculpt, like if it was like a different pose of another model, I wouldn't want it to be part of a unit.
Okay.
Because they already have unique posing.
Sure.
Well, not unique, but there's like 4 or 5 different poses in the unit. You'd never know. To do an alt pose, you have to do a Warcaster, a solo, something that people are going to be able to notice on the table. Because it's location based, I don't mind it at all.
Okay.
Because it's so very different than the Hollow Men. Because the Hollow Men, as we'll get into in a second, are trencher aesthetic.
Yeah.
They're undead trencher guys.
Sure. Yep.
And the Beefeater is so different. I don't think I have a problem with
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
And because CID is coming, I don't think they would bother releasing a caster or anything.
Sure.
Because everything about it would change.
Okay. Jason.
I feel pretty much the same way George does. I like collecting the variant models anyway. So it was kind of a no-brainer for me. I'm gonna get it because it looks different.
Okay.
It's a model for the new faction. So yeah, I think it's cool.
Cool. I was a little disappointed at first. Probably gathered that from my semi-loaded question there.
Yeah.
I was a little bit disappointed at first because there was a lot of rumor and like conjecture and speculation. We're getting a solo. We're getting that alt Warcaster sculpt. We're getting this. We're getting that. And I really like what they've done, but I kind of almost wish that it had been a surprise at the event. Because
what it was?
yeah, because it's just a grunt in a unit. I kind of think I would have preferred it being surprise. Here's a con exclusive model, rather than us knowing months in advance that there's going to be this model.
Right.
Oh, I see.
So I was a little bit disappointed, but I do like it. It took me a little bit. I was like,
I think they probably wanted to, as part of building hype for the new faction.
yeah.
And I think that leads us quite nicely into the new faction.
Yes. It's
Grimkin.
like I planned that segue.
It's almost like you did.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah.
So, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go into some of the Grimkin stuff, and we're going to. As we talk, I'm gonna put up some images.
Yep.
That should give us a little bit of an idea about what some of these models will look like. If you normally just download the audio, we're going to try not to refer to the pictures too much.
Yeah.
I'm sure we will. So go find the video version of the cast over on YouTube.
Yeah.
Or we always link to it at Muse, so you can just go to museonminis.com. And we're in the list of podcasts. Now, to everybody else, that seems silly, but it took us a year and a half for that to happen. John is a great sponsor. Maybe not the fastest IT guy I've ever had.
It took getting the big name on the show to finally get you guys on the list here. And so while Jason goes AFK, let's get started.
So Grimkin. So Mike, do you know
The full name of the faction for starters.
Something about Grimkin, Dark Harvest, Harvester, Farmer.
You're just gonna leave him hanging?
Yeah,
This is awesome.
great radio.
So what you're saying is you're not sure on the full name?
Something about the Dark Harvest or
Wicked.
Yeah,
The
something.
Wicked Harvest.
The Wicked. See,
Grimkin, the Wicked Harvest.
Grimkin. I'm not buying into the faction.
Wicked.
There we go. That's the name.
Grimkin, I'm not buying in the faction. Okay, Mr. Grimkin, I'm not buying in the faction.
You're a Grumpkin,
Look at the
I am a Grumpkin.
Look at the camera when you're talking,
not George.
because when you look at us, you don't talk into your mic. You
Talking
talk
to your
at
mic.
me and
Okay.
You talk at him.
Cool.
You don't talk.
Come on, noob.
Cool.
Get it together.
I do try when I turn. I do
No,
try.
see,
to
you're
go.
looking at me.
gotta-
Yeah, I know, but
Yeah,
I
you're
do try to
talking
go
no,
in.
you're talking to
All
me.
right, all right.
Yeah, you're talking at us. I can see your lips flap, and that means you're not talking in your mic.
All right. See, this is what I get. You know, I grace
The
you with
rubbery.
my
Allison from-
Okay,
presence.
moving right along.
I don't believe we've seen any complaints from the chat. The only complaints I've seen from the chat are from you, George.
Yes,
So
I am something to complain about. All right, so Grimkin, what? So we'll go to Jason, who's a little bit more excited.
Jason is very
super
excited.
He's a little.
There was like a
mad.
brief period there of a little bit of salt, and then it just went right out the window. It
Yeah,
was
when
amazing.
I found out it was going to be a limited faction, I was a little upset because I was looking forward to a full giant faction of nightmarish monster creatures. So that kind of, I was a little disappointed. But now, after seeing some of the models, I'm all in.
Yeah.
Awesome. So Grimkin, they are. Who are the Grimkin? What are the Grimkin? What are these things?
Well, I don't know the lore, so somebody who knows that a little better will have to.
Did you not read the not show notes?
It's horrible. Okay. Well,
I don't read show notes.
I do actually have. I did. I
don't
did
read show notes.
I did actually read the not show notes. So
can you Mike grace us with sort of a little bit of the background lore?
so a
for
little
the
bit of
faction?
the background lore in the TLDR.
Yeah. I know
version.
I provided you with 8,000
Yeah,
pages.
there are a lot of words here. But for those who don't want to read the dissertation George has written, essentially what has happened is the old witch has made an arrangement with what are referred to as the Defilers? Defiers.
Because they defied.
They defied Menoth and were sent to Urkane. So Baba Yaga has, or Old Witch 2 and 3, which we'll get into, has made a deal with the Defiers to bring them back to Kane. Kane? Yes. And they are going to reap the liars and the people who are leading others astray. What that means in particular, we're not 100% sure on, unless George knows something that I don't.
No, I can go a little bit deeper there. Theoretically, like from what we've heard, lore-wise, Baba Yaga, or sorry, I should
Savannah Aga.
Savannah Aga has seen some completely uncopyrightable. Baba Yaga has seen something horrible going on, something that she's preparing for. And if people don't know in the lore, Savannah Aga is really, really ancient. Like, was around when Menoth and Thamar and everybody was wandering around, has basically seen and done it all. She was a Blackclad for a while because that seemed like the thing to do.
Who hasn't?
Yeah, I know. Like, it's a thing. She basically settled in Kador, and she's Kadoran just sort of because that's literally where her house is this week. But one of her abilities is to sort of see into the future. And in the future, something has gone horribly wrong, and she realizes that she needs this group of people to fight whatever this horrible thing coming is, to fight it off. And so probably having been around when it happened, when the Defiers actually defied Menoth. She's like, you know what would be useful? Those guys. I remember somebody who could handle this. And so she trots off to an insane asylum, because one of the things we know is that insanity is one of the few things that breaches between Kane and Urkane.
Mm-hmm.
And she, through a liberal application of sharp objects and magic, manages to use the addled brain of this person to contact the Defiers. The Defiers, these 5 people, have been trapped in Urkane, and basically all their dreams and nightmares have been hurting, stabbing, just generally being very, very nasty to these people for thousands and thousands of years. And she figures out a way to drag them back into Kane and drag their nightmares with them. And the Grimkin, who have always sort of been these weird little myths and legends all around Immorin, have all been attracted to these 5 Defiers coming back. And so these 5 Defiers are the, I'm going to say, quote unquote warcasters, because they aren't actually warcasters, and that's one of the really neat new things about this faction.
It is technically a Hordes faction, though, George, so you should probably be referring to them as warlocks.
I should. So they're not warlocks.
Glasses up the nose.
Yeah,
there
exactly.
we go.
So they're not actually warlocks, but they're close to it. So, Mike, there are these 5 people, these 5 warlocks or not warlocks that have been dragged through to Kane by Sava Aga. Who are they? Who are these weirdos that we've suddenly got to deal with?
So, Jason, do you happen to have a list of who they are? And do we want to talk about what they do, or just like how do we want to do this?
I think
number
we can
one,
do both.
We have the child.
Are we gonna do pretty pictures too?
Yeah, I'm gonna pull up some pretty pictures.
Do you
while
have a
he's
picture of the
talking.
child?
I do indeed.
That needs a little bit of context.
Yeah. So
Yeah, because that's not creepy at all.
the child is a large base model with her monster Dolly. Now, once George gets the picture up here, you'll be able to see.
There we go.
Yeah, so that's a pretty
Did we just lose it?
No.
Okay. it's
pretty
up there.
cool looking model there. And it's actually the concept art you're seeing is very similar to what the actual model looks like.
Yeah, it is one model.
yeah.
It's one large base with
One large
both
base.
Dolly and the child on it.
Yeah. She's a frontline caster, apparently. Frontline Defier. And apparently is the butcher of the faction. Though not as killy as he. So I'm guessing the beast she's got behind her there can do some major damage.
Well, Dolly is actually part of her model.
Right.
So the child, from a technical point of view, she's got abuse. She's herself, I assume it's actually Dolly, but she has a pair of POW 15 initials.
I'm pretty sure it's a little girl.
Yeah, it's the little girl.
Yeah.
She's Fury 7 with Bulldoze, and every time she gets hurt, her strength and armor go up.
Ouch.
Now, what's going to be really interesting to see, as a sometimes Scorn player, it's going to be interesting to see whether or not she retains that damage and armor increase, or if it's going to be something that's like a round. Because with things like blood tokens with Naresh, you lose those. So it'll be interesting to see if he also does, or if he retains them. And if he
Right.
retains them, we get to go to some salty towns.
Yep.
Now, because this is the first of them, we should talk a little bit about the way these warcasters work in relation to feats.
Because
Yes.
they don't have traditional feats.
In fact, they don't have feats at all.
Gasp.
So they each have 3 different cards that they come with. They come with their trump card, and they come with 2 other cards. And these are sort of like reactionary mini feats. So what happens is something happens, and then you choose to trigger your card, and then whatever it says on the card you do. So, for example, with the child, her trump card is Wrath. the fluffy thing they have up there right now is when you smash her toys, she sets all the enemy models on fire. What we've seen in the rules that they've talked about is what you can do is you can trigger when a model dies. You can trigger this trump card, and it will set all models in her control range on fire.
That is ridiculous.
It'll be interesting to see how that goes.
Yeah.
Also, PP seems to really love fire lately.
Yeah.
Yeah, they love fire.
Burn, burn, burn.
Yep.
All right, so who is the next?
Next,
of
we got
Defiers?
the Heretic. The Heretic looks really cool.
Yeah, the Heretic is supposed to be the infantry cast.
Yeah. So he's got Guided. I'm not familiar with Guided. Is there an established
Guided, I
rule for
believe,
Guided?
is what the Harbinger has on her sword that makes it not miss.
Okay. Well, that's fun.
Is that not? Pretty sure that's what it is.
So P+S 14 weapon with Guided. That sounds pretty nasty.
Yep. So the rule for guided specifically is attacks made with this weapon automatically hit.
Okay.
So
P+S 14 automatically hitting sword.
yeah,
That's
no
not bad.
big
Not
deal.
bad. Fury 7. So some spells are Fury, which
So people's
That's-
strength 17,
yeah,
14, yeah, 17,
automatically
yeah.
hitting. Yeah. So Heretic can get some work done. Hex Blast, which is not anything to turn your back on. Wall of Fire.
Essentially, it's a wall template.
Okay, but it's on fire. If anything passes through it,
Yeah, so it doesn't it doesn't block like charge lanes or things
right.
like that.
But
Like,
if you go through it, you're on fire.
It's like the one that Axis has.
Yeah.
yeah, or I think one of the Fjords in Mark II had it. I'm not sure about Mark III.
And Gallows as well.
And Gallows, yeah,
Gallows to bring
when
you
you
in
into
and
the
smack
fire,
you with-
exactly. Yeah,
So you pull somebody through a firewall into your auto hitting P+S 17
seems fun.
weapon. Yeah.
yeah. Pull them through the fire,
My
you charge
God.
them. Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the trumps listed on the Heretic, when one of your models is killed, the entire army gets prey against the model that killed your model.
Right. So this is actually kind of like we were talking a little bit about this before the cast, actually. So it's kind of neat.
Yeah.
So it's like a single model prey.
Yeah.
But if you kill the prey target because it lasts around,
It moves to something else.
You get to move that prey. So
That's ball busting. That's
yeah, I mean, logistically in my head, it hurts my brain a little bit.
yeah.
But like, yeah, it's a really interesting dynamic,
Yeah.
and I think it's gonna be a lot of fun on the table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty nasty.
And with that big bonus, he runs infantry really well.
Yep.
Yeah.
So all of your infantry is going to be able to just go after something because they're all getting +2 to hit and damage.
Yeah. Also, the one thing okay, so if we can just talk about the model for a second.
Yeah, we're going to mention what the model looks like because I think this is possibly one of the coolest models
I
I've
think
ever
so
seen.
too. Now, George, do you happen to have I'm sure this is great radio, but do you have a painted picture as well or no?
No, I don't have
Okay.
the model.
So if you guys want to take a look at the Privateer Press release video, I mean, it's there have been some comments about the quality of the poem,
Voice acting.
the
Plastics,
poems and the voice acting, and we're not.
Oh,
Gonna,
okay.
I don't want to comment on that, but I do want to
Yeah.
comment on the fact that this guy looks amazing, and
Yeah.
he does he almost looks like a model that was. Like a lot of the aesthetic for the new faction has been compared a lot to Malifaux.
Yeah.
But he kind of looks like something that was pulled straight out of Warhammer Fantasy from
Yes.
from like a Tzeentch or Chaos Army. And like, yeah, he's got like a sun god thing going on.
Yeah.
And he's holding his face
Yes.
in his left hand.
Yeah, that is pretty amazing.
Yeah. So
I want that guy purely just to put him on a shelf.
yeah.
Like he looks amazing.
Yeah.
Well, because this is a limited faction, it will eventually end up back on a shelf. You know,
Yeah, that's
as-
true.
As it rotates out.
That's true.
And these models, I think, are going
I
to
don't
look
know.
gorgeous
After
there.
reading some of these stats and spells for these models, I'm thinking they're
George said the same things about Convergence. So
And I still say them. They're awesome.
all right. Moving along.
who are we moving on to?
Who do we got next? We got the Wanderer next.
Wanderer.
So the Wanderer, I looked at that car or the stats for this guy, and I'm just like, how like okay. So to start off, you got Star-Crossed.
fair
right?
and balanced.
Star-crossed on a cast or on a Defier is nasty to start with. Okay, couple that with the fact that it's Fury 6. That's not bad.
So you got you have a 12-inch Star-crossed bubble.
12-inch Star-crossed bubble. You also have Fog of War.
Yeah.
Now, the one thing that I'm going to look up right now.
Star-crossed and upkeep.
Yeah, that's what I'm checking
Because
right
if you
now.
can put out Star-crossed and Fog of War,
Yeah,
that is just ridiculous.
Now, I'm pretty sure both cost 3. Well, I'm pretty sure both cost a lot. So
the from what they said on the Prime cast, you can cast them all, but then you're out of Fury.
yeah,
Okay.
so yeah, Starcrossed is definitely not an upkeep. Again, this is where
So you can put
Fog
out
of War
Star-crossed
is
and Fog of War.
Starcrossed is admonition goes up, and then you have no Fury to transfer.
So for those who don't know, Starcrossed is like a
The bane
reverse
of my existence.
It's like a reverse signs importance.
Yes.
And what does that mean? So essentially what you're going to do is Starcrossed, you're going to roll an additional die for your attack rolls.
Yep. So
and
you get an additional die.
and then you drop the highest.
Yeah.
So when your stuff is attacked, your opponent is essentially
Dropping their highest.
they're rolling
die.
under the averaged curve.
Yeah.
Yeah, this causes your normally hitting beasts that do lots of damage to basically do nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're gonna have to boost to hit.
Yep. And again, this is enemy models, so I think I may have.
And then you couple Fog of War.
Yeah. And
onto
Fog of
there.
War, for those who don't know, that gives everything in your control area
Yeah.
concealment.
Everything.
So that's +2 defense against shooting. That gives you stealth if you have prowl.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Wanderer I really love because he has one of the strangest little mechanics I've ever seen. So at the end of every turn, he puts out these 3 tokens.
Yeah.
And if anything touches the tokens, they disappear. But at the beginning of his next turn, he can place himself where any of those tokens are. So you pick a token and you just appear there. The idea is that this guy never wants to be nailed down. Now, one of his things, his trump arcana, is that if a model hits one of those, touches one of those tokens, his trump arcana can be played, and he can befuddle D3 plus 3 models around it.
This guy is essentially Kalandra, is what you're saying, because he's just stealing all of her spells. So Befuddle, for those who don't know, is on a hit, you can immediately advance target enemy non-warcaster, non-warlock model up to 3 inches. The model cannot be affected by free strikes during the movement, and you can only move once as per turn as a result of Befuddle.
And so you do that D3 plus 3
3 times.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah.
Oh my
so,
god. So you can basically move 6 models.
Yeah,
It's
they just-
no
Or
free strike.
yeah, it's like are you gonna stop me from going into this spot, or are you going to
So yeah, like
Man.
you're like, oh, I want to go over there, but he's got one of those tokens. Down.
Yeah, and he may play that. And that's his trump, right? So
That's his trump
So that is
arcana.
the ability he has at all times.
Yeah, he will always have that.
Yeah.
arcana.
It's okay. It's all right.
Yeah, I think that's
Whatever.
I think that's a good one.
Whatever.
So who's next?
We got the Dreamer next. The Dreamer. Is this the... Yeah, okay. That's a really cool model, too.
Yeah, the model
The
in the
moons and
in the little lingerie, the little nightie there.
Yeah.
Well, she's a sleeper, you know.
She's
So I'm not sure here. I'm going to read this off, but I'm not 100% sure. So 3 phantasms?
Yeah,
yes.
so she has, when she kills things, she can put into play 3 phantasms, a small, a medium, and a large based phantasm. Each one looks a little different and does a little different things, but they all have annoyance.
Uh-huh.
And so they all do a negative. And the Dreamer's actually one of the ones we know the least about. Apparently, she can also do something to what we believe are knockdown models, do some kind of control to them. So when a model gets knocked down in her control range, she can move them around or something like that. But the phantasms are what really interesting.
And according to the video, she can turn things into pumpkins or something. Didn't she turn a marauder into a pumpkin?
Yeah, she
Yeah.
did. I don't know
Yeah.
what that's about. She's supposed to be able to shape the world around her to match her dreams.
Yeah.
And again, gorgeous model. We've
Yeah.
seen 4. Oh no, we have seen 4 of the 6 warlocks in the faction so far. We are still missing 2 of the Defiers, but yeah, no, all of the models that we've seen so far in terms of the warlocks are just absolutely gorgeous.
So, what do those phantasms do that she makes?
So the phantasms, the small base is a teddy bear with a K-Dorn rifle and a hat. Sounds pretty cute. It's also something that can probably shoot you off the table.
I think that one gives mark target, if I'm not mistaken.
According to the according
small
to the
has
not
mark
show
target, yeah.
not show notes. Oh my goodness, that is correct, George.
Yeah. So the medium is a channeler.
So you'll be able to cast her spells through him.
Mm-hmm.
The large is a Titan Gladiator Pinata.
Yep.
Which is
I love that.
pretty interesting. And he has Bulldoze and Arcane Pulse.
So when he dies, he blows up, and everything within 8 inches loses its upkeep spells.
Yep. And all 3 of them have the annoyance rule, so that's going to be minus.
We already went over that.
My apologies. I don't really listen so much. When I'm in the chat, I'm mostly just talking to the chat people.
Yeah, this is true.
So I gotta get. I'm sorry. I gotta get into the headspace of listening now.
Yes.
All right, here we go. All right, who do we have next on the block?
We got old Savannah Yaga herself, the old witch. 2 and 3. So she's a battle engine caster, not a gargantuan or not a colossal.
No.
She is a battle engine caster.
Okay, I'm just gonna stop you right there. Could you imagine if she was like not a battle, not a colossal caster, but if she was their gargantuan
Yeah.
instead of a warlock?
Oh, that would be amazing.
That would have been anyway.
Yeah.
We'll get into that rant later on, but
Yeah.
continue. So sorry.
So yeah, depending. So she can work for Kador. So she can either be a warlock or a warcaster. Feat is the same between Hordes and War Machine.
Yeah, so she is going to be the only one of the warlocks in the new faction that actually has a traditional
Yeah,
feat.
she doesn't have the Arcana like the others do.
Which makes sense because she's not a Defier.
Yeah. Or is she?
Bum, bum, bum.
We know that 5 of the 6 Defiers were sent to Urkane.
Yeah.
So
And she looks hella cool.
This is the model that we actually saw sort of silhouetted
Right before
that
SmogCon.
yeah.
video.
And she was silhouetted a little bit in the video as well. They didn't really give us a good picture of her though, and
Oh, I don't know what. Maybe the model isn't done being painted.
that's what I'm wondering if it's kind of like a Hydra situation where they're like, "Oh, we're having production problems."
Well, not necessarily production problems, but
It's
we
probably
just
just
haven't
not
bothered to
done
paint it
painting
yet.
it. Yeah. Because it was pretty monotone. There was no real evidence
Yeah.
of paint
Yeah,
on
it
it.
may
Well,
just be
also,
sprayed.
even with the child, I think we only saw a render in the video. I don't think it was the painted
No,
model.
I think we saw not a base coated, but a primed model.
Okay,
Yeah, we
yeah,
did. Yeah.
yeah. It definitely didn't look finished. So
So now that we have an idea of the warcasters, there's way more, by the way, that for those of you in the chat and listening, we're not going to be able to get through the entire faction tonight.
There's a lot.
There is a lot.
well, did we want to touch on the King of Nothing, seeing as we know virtually nothing about him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We do know he has Burning Ash.
Ash.
And Scything Touch, Scything Touch.
Scything
Touch.
touch, I believe.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Command 1, is that not show note correct?
1.
That is actually correct.
Which
I
is-
went and checked that.
So there's something going on there.
Well,
There-
apparently a lot of the arcanas are based around command
Okay,
as opposed
so
to control.
so make command checks relevant again. Okay.
Yeah, so apparently having a command 1 is going to force you to look at what arcanas you're taking
Okay.
and
Okay.
why you'd be taking that arcana.
Okay.
Interesting.
All right. So yeah. So that's a rundown on the Defiers or
Defiers.
warlocks, what have you.
We could probably go through. We can do the 2 heavies. We have time to do the 2 heavies.
Well, I think we can do the
Oh my goodness,
I
we
think
ran
can
we
do
ran
the,
long.
I think we can do all the war beasts.
Okay.
So neat little bit of trivia about the war beasts while my co-hosts are looking through the notes there.
The not notes.
The not notes. All the war beasts are things that were the sort of the dreams of these Defiers that were stuck in Urkane. they were what was created by their own minds to drive them insane. And over the time, each of the Defiers added their own little horrible bits. And when Savannah Aga dragged them back into Kane, these are the nightmares that they literally dragged through with them. And each one sort of represents part of the Defier's psyche and how they've been tortured over time. So which one are we going to go with first?
Let's start with Skin and Moans.
Skin and Moans.
I just want to say how much I love that name.
Oh, yeah.
Whoever just popped that into their head at one, hey, let's call him Skin and Moans. Thumbs up to you, sir, or ma'am, because that's a fantastic name.
That is a name.
Yeah.
It is a
of,
name.
Currently 2 war beasts that we know about, and it really sounded like they were the only 2 war beasts.
I think that's it seems to be that we're getting 2 heavy war beasts and that's it for some time.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Like, Convergence had way more. Now, they were literally a faction all about big stompy robots.
Right.
So I can totally understand why they would have way more robots than these guys have war beasts. But only 2?
Only 2.
What do you guys think?
I think that's lacking. I'd like to see 5.
You'd like to see 5?
I'm still holding out that these are kits.
Ah, okay.
So I'm wondering if maybe these like maybe it's going to be like an artist, sentinel, and soldier. Maybe we're only getting 4 heavies. Maybe we're getting 6. Maybe it's going to be like a traditional War Machine kit or Hordes kit. But I'm holding out hope that it's not just the 2 full stop.
Yeah, because 2 is light, I think.
So, Mike, tell me about Skin and Moans.
Oh, you got scooped, Jason.
That's okay.
You got scooped. All right. So,
I have to stop talking at some point.
Skin and Moans, speed 6, power strength 16 weapons, and gets stronger with corpse tokens. And essentially what happens there is with corpse tokens, it gains strength and armor because it's made up of the skin of its enemies. So it's literally like flaying them and then adding them to its body.
Yeah, if you guys who are listening to the podcast, if you haven't seen the model, look them up. Look up Skin and Moans, do a Google image search or whatever.
Well, you
but
can
it
just
is
go to our Facebook page.
Or do
We've
that.
got all these images there.
Yes. Really cool looking model.
This is actually the model that we saw in one of the videos from the ARG.
Yeah.
This is
faces.
this is the thing.
The shoulder, the shoulder in particular there. Yeah.
So Skin and Moans is the manifestation of being dragged into a collective. It's the same kind of fear of the Borg type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have a second heavy, which is really weird because he's a support heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. They like their support heavies. They're like, hey, he worked so well in Gators. We're going to do it again. We're giving you a slow support heavy.
So
I'm going again. All right, so this is the Cage Rager. Again, wonderful names.
I love the name.
I really do.
So yeah, like we said, it's a defensive support war beast, which has Arcane Vortex. It is a channeler. It is, quote, more durable, unquote, and it's speed 4. So it's an arc node essentially because you can channel.
Yeah.
But speed 4.
Well, we've seen arc nodes on like Colossals.
Yeah, but I mean, like Colossals tend to be speed 5. Well, 4 or 5. Anyways, it remains to be seen. I mean, like the Blind Walker. I mean, it's speed 4 as well, and but I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, we won't know until we see these guys.
Yeah,
and these will all be part of CID. So
yeah. And I mean, like, I think it's going to be kind of neat because, like, there's speculation that he'll either, like, he may start with corpses because of the cages and the models look like they have corpses in them, or he may just collect corpses as the game goes on, and it may be those corpses that he spends to use the upkeep assistance or to use the Arcane Vortex ability. So rather than using souls like some other factions do, this faction is going to be more about collecting corpses. And we do see that in some of the other models, which I guess we'll be going into not today.
Yeah, we'll have to go into some of those next week.
Yeah.
But Jason, can you mention Death Knell for people? Because I think a lot of people are wondering how all these things are going to get corpses. Bottom of the... last email.
So the one thing that we didn't see in the video, I believe, is what you're referring to, right?
Yeah, definitely.
The battle engine.
Yeah, the battle engine. We didn't see it in the video, but we did see concept art in the ARG.
Yes. So, Death Knell, Death Kneel,
the death knell.
something.
Take a death knell.
Death something. Collects corpses of living or undead within 8 inches of everything that dies. So anything that dies within 8 inches, he gets their corpse token. Whether they're living or undead, which, I mean, that's a corpse token. You get that anyway. He creates an aura like the Creel Stone and can pass out corpses.
Mm-hmm.
So he can hand off corpse tokens to whatever happens to need them.
Yeah, so they're going to be able to shift stuff around and get the corpses where the corpses are required.
Which could be great for things like Skin and Moans, who it makes them stronger, more durable.
Yeah, and it may be nice because then you don't necessarily have to commit your heavies as well.
That's right.
To the fight early on. You can commit that infantry, get your corpses.
Buff up your heavy.
The one thing is that it's like the one thing that I would like to see clarification on. It probably is going to be enemy models, but what we know is that it collects corpses full stop. So whether or not it collects,
if you look at the pot in Legion,
Yeah.
it collects corpses whether they're enemy or friendly. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say it could be enemy or friendly. Doesn't matter.
bold claims. You heard it here.
I'm out on a limb.
You heard it here first, folks.
Yeah, enemy and friendly.
Yeah.
Confirmed.
Oh, confirmed. So I guess we didn't hear it here first.
No, the Primecast had that.
Scooped by the.
Scooped by the Primecast.
So
It's figures.
we're going to do
Curse
the
you,
lights
Hungerford.
now. So we'll start with Gorehound and
Running long.
Yeah. So Gorehound, a flanker. So you want to bring a couple Gorehounds with you.
Yeah,
Ooh.
they aren't going to be able to take a punch, but they'll be able to get out there quick
Yep.
and eat up whatever they can.
Flank with high speed and a reach weapon and pull.
Now, is this again great radio? So I'm sure everyone can imagine we're painting a tableau.
Yeah.
Currently, we have the 2 pictures of the lights that were shown in the promotional video.
Yeah.
Now, the Gorehound is the
tongue.
the rake looking thing, right, with the
Yes.
long tongue.
Yeah.
Okay.
Really long tongue.
Yeah.
They mentioned that it was a bit of a range extender because he can go up and do that 2-inch drag, and then other people can charge in.
I wonder if he's going to have long leash then as well while they're.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. It seems like that.
It fits the motif.
The model itself. Like, yeah. I'm guessing 8 points.
Probably. It's a fair.
Yeah. Yeah. So
The other one
Reach
that we have
weapon,
here is
pull.
Rattler.
That's the Rattler. Okay.
That's Rattler. Okay. So a murder machine.
Yes.
Murder machine. He looks kind of like a freaky Edward Scissorhands.
All
just got
wrapped
out of
up
hell.
in chains with
Yeah,
spikes
yeah.
stuck in his back.
Berserk. That's fun.
Yeah.
Berserk is fun. It is.
People has 13. Matt 6, which is mediocre. 2 initials and mobility as well.
See, I kind of like the 2 initials with Berserk though.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Especially if there's like a mat fixer or
Yes.
We've already seen a mat fix.
Yeah.
We've seen a warlock that can give their entire army prey.
that's
Yes.
true.
Yeah.
So we've got
look,
prey.
we have
and
a
there-
Rattler and this unit
and there's
of
also
whatever.
the
8.
knockdown. So no, I think there's going to be a lot of interesting things that you can do with this particular
Yeah.
light.
They mentioned that it was sort of like a Cuisinart for infantry. That you just sort of plugged it in at one end and it went through until it snaked out and then it started its second attack.
So we also have Frightmare.
Now there are no pictures in the wild
No
of the Frightmare,
pictures of
Ooh.
Frightmare.
perhaps because of its description.
Yes. So it's a ranged option. So gun. Counterblast Animus.
Okay.
So it's the Cannoneer that has that. In Scotland?
No, Mammoth.
Mammoth has that.
So what does Counterblast do, Mike?
So if you end your movement within 6 inches, you can either shoot or take a melee attack.
Okay.
Yeah. So
AOE Corrosion Gun.
okay.
Horse on 2 legs with a horse face coming out of its mouth with a lady face coming out of that mouth.
Wow.
Yeah, apparently Will Pagani saw the art for this one
Yeah.
and went, just what the fuck?
Yeah, I mean, like I kind of thought that the oh my god, the light Cavan Cricks,
Yeah.
Soul Hunters, I thought they were a little bit gruesome.
Yeah.
With their dude bodies stitched onto horse bodies.
Yes.
This is
a whole other.
this is a whole other thing.
Yeah.
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 So I don't.
I can't wait to see that model.
Yeah, it's pretty metal, eh?
All right. So
I'll order 10.
yeah, exactly. All right. So everybody, thanks for joining us tonight. We're gonna do.
We didn't have time for the lessers.
We didn't. We're,
Or
well,
the
we're gonna
units.
do the one
Or the
lesser
units.
before we go.
The
Okay.
one,
The
but
one-
there are multiple. Oh no, there is only
no,
one.
there's
There is
just
only one.
one
Okay.
lesser
Okay.
before we go. But I want to take a chance to do a couple of things. One, I want to thank Mike for coming on the cast tonight while Will was away.
Yep. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you for having
Thanks
me.
for putting up with our shenanigans.
You know, I'll.
And how-
I'm here. I'm here all month.
So now that you're sitting on this side of the table, how fast does that hour go?
Chain attack. What? Oh,
What?
was that?
Oh, damn it!
Did I miss my cue?
You missed your cue. Also, I want to mention a couple of people who help us keep the lights on here. As always, the Wizards Tower is a great place to get your models and your magic signals and just about anything you'll want to order online.
Board games.
All that kind of great stuff.
Everything.
As we were talking about in the pre-ramble, Muse on Minis.
Yep.
Muse on
are
Minis.
a great place to get all of the wonderful tokens and widgets and their new little
1-inch creepers.
1-inch creepers. Is that what they're called?
That's what I'm calling them.
That's
So,
awesome.
so Jason, in your professional opinion as a local War Machine champion, do you see these as a valuable tool for?
Maybe not for tournaments.
No.
I see them as a great way to eat a lot of clock.
Okay.
They are delicious clock
So
destroyers.
Yeah.
you've heard it here first from local champ.
Yeah,
and,
if you want to win tournaments, don't bother with the 1-inch movement things. Just take your model and put it somewhere.
that is
Measuring is for suckers.
that's
Yes,
there we
measuring
go.
is for suckers because that's what we want to tell our sponsors. And last but not least, the Crooked Mile, who keeps us in beer usually, and if
when
you are
we go get it.
when we go get it.
Oh, I didn't get beer.
So
Aw.
when you're in this area, I highly recommend heading out to the Crooked Mile.
Yep.
There will be some. There might be some coming to the OTC. I'm not promising anything, but there is
Super
definitely
jelly.
some coming to
the Sioux.
To the Sioux. So once again, thank you everybody in the chat for joining us, and thank you everybody for listening. So we are going to go out. I'm going to get our champ over there, Jason, to just give us the last thing on the lesser. So
I just turned off my phone.
who do we have jumping around? Making sure that all this stuff doesn't get shot off the table.
We have the Crabbit, George.
The Crabbit.
The Crabbit.
Crabbit.
So the Crabbit is apparently a shredder. No, shredder with shield guard.
So better than the shredder.
Better than the shredder already. It can hop. So I'm guessing that's like a place effect.
Probably has a jump rule.
Yeah, jump.
Probably has
Probably is jump.
Yeah.
Yeah, or leap. Yeah.
Leap or jump. Not offensive.
Yeah, apparently these things are, from what I understand, they will fuel all those corpses.
Yep.
Because they are these little annoying things that jump
Probably
up in the air
2
and get
points
shot out.
that you just
Or 4 points for 2 or something like that.
Yeah.
So before we go, and I know we're running late,
okay.
I gotta ask you guys, what do you think so far? Like, what do you think of the faction? I mean, Jason.
I think everybody knows how I feel.
Yeah. Jason is in love.
I used to be in a death metal band, so this is right up my alley.
Yeah. So all right. So Jason, we don't care. George, what do you think? What do you think, George?
I'm smitten. I'm not as smitten as I am with Convergence because I love everything about Convergence except playing it for X number of years. It finally got stale. It was about 5 or 4 for me.
And I mean, like you loved it, got burned. So
Yeah. But what I really really enjoy about this is the original Grimm fairy tales feel. We didn't get into the infantry, but like the pigs riding on people.
Oh man, I can't wait to talk about that.
And the hollow men and the little imps riding on rocking horses, charging across the field on fire. All that kind of stuff. The lady that may or may not be a fictitious part of a dead tree that's just waiting to scythe you apart.
Yeah.
All of those things come together to give me this sort of dark Bavarian woods feel that I'm really attracted to and I really like.
Yeah.
And I'm really looking forward to seeing. I want to see horror that isn't green undead things.
Yeah. Or the mechanical horror. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that we've had the green undead things. We've had the like sort of the knives in the dark. What we're getting now is the little child, are you my mommy?
Yeah.
Just pure psychological freakiness. And
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to it.
I just want to say one thing about those pigs.
Okay.
I am really looking forward to impervious flesh and shield wall on a cav unit.
Yeah.
So I gotta say, I was kind of excited to see the faction, and there are some really gorgeous models. And I was
sensing a butt.
I was really thinking about, because again, this could be my Thursday faction.
Yeah.
I was really thinking about it. There are two things that took me out completely. One was the lack of a gargantuan.
Right.
I am a huge base slut.
Yeah.
I own the Storm Raptor. It's garbage, but I own it. And the fact
How can you not love that guy?
and the fact that there
How
aren't
can you not love
the
that?
fact that there aren't any gargantuans, it hurt. And then I saw the piggybacks. Those friggin' I can suspend my disbelief at Pharaoh. I cannot suspend my disbelief at literal pigs riding around on the little old man from Up. That is a line.
I
that
love
is a
that that's where the line in the sand was.
that is a bridge too far. And yes, they are cav with impervious flesh,
And
shield.
snacking.
Yeah, they are medium base cav. It is, but yeah, no, that model is a bridge too far. It crossed the line in the sand.
I can't wait to put them on the table across. From
Oh
you
my
and
God,
just
every time-
absolutely decimate you.
Every time I play Jason, I'm gonna get so
love
tilted
their
every time I
little
see those
hats.
stupid
the
models.
little hats, the little.
Little hats are what make it.
Oh, it's amazing.
They are ridiculous. Anyway, so that's my piece about the faction. Some gorgeous models. I will probably buy some of them, but these damn pigs, I don't know. Anyway, I'm done. That's my piece.
That's your piece. All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us, and we are way past the death clock, and I'm just gonna say it's dice down.
Dice down! Moose Machine and This Death Clock Has 60 Minutes is a proud part of the Muse on Minis network. Podcasts go online every Thursday morning. You can watch the show live every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern on Twitch and keep in touch with us on our Facebook page. Just Google Moose Machine. If you can't find us, you're doing the internet wrong.